For the past year, as a challenge to myself, I decided I wanted to be a gaming creator. I mean, how hard can it be? I just needed to record some gameplay, do some commentary, and that's it, right? Well, this is how it went. It was early 2023 and I was playing some sort of single player game, and honestly, I was getting really bored. Everything just felt far too familiar. Even God of War 2, and I enjoyed the first one, was literally putting me to sleep. And I think it's because everything's so predictable these days. And that's where my mind veered off, hunting for a weird indie game. And that's when I came across something called Pot Trick Snap, which was a really strange, almost satanic, sadistic SpongeBob game. Something completely out of the blue. And I thought, if I'm gonna play a game like this, why don't I just record myself? And so that was the beginning of the journey. But the first step, how do I record gameplay? You see and consume all this content, but I actually never knew how to do it myself. After doing some research and trying to work out what the best way to go about doing this, I came across something called OBS. Now, OBS has to be one of my favorite pieces of software, and not because it's actually free. It does exactly what you'd want. You're able to capture your voice, have a camera on you, and assemble them all together. In fact, there are really cool plugins you can use, such as ATM Vertical, which allows you to film in a vertical aspect ratio and horizontal at the same time. The benefit of this makes short form content way easier to film. And so this really streamlined my workflow, so I really recommend downloading this. Of course, I also have to record myself, and after doing some research, I came across the Blue Yeti. Yeah, controversial. To my surprise, this mic is very hit and miss, and I actually see why after using it for about a year. One, there are probably a lot of better mics out there that are a bit cheaper, but two, it is a very sensitive mic. If you do not configure it correctly through Logitech's own software or by adding filters and compressors, you're very quickly going to reach issues where your voice peaks. And when you're playing a game and you get a bit excited or there's a horror part, I noticed the quality of the recording just went really south. So, recording is one thing, but editing is another. I knew if I just uploaded a gameplay video, it was never gonna do well. Well, it's debatable whether any of those videos did well, but let's ignore that fact. And when it comes to editing, there are a suite. Honestly, there are many different choices that you could go for. I actually started out on CapCut. Now, CapCut is an application that most editors know about, but for those who don't, it's a really cool, easy to access editing application. Honestly, if you're getting started, CapCut might be the way forward. But I knew eventually I wanted to use After Effects and more professional grade software, and so I opted for Premiere Pro in anticipation for using After Effects. In the end, I realized I didn't really need After Effects, at least not for the type of content that I do with gameplay. But if I was to do something quite cinematic and I wanted rotoscoping or some sort of text in the background, then I'd probably learn After Effects a little bit more. Premiere Pro, there are plenty of plugins. In particular, I use Composer and Motion Pro, which pretty much has all the sounds that you could possibly imagine and all the effects and transitions and some really cool typography stuff. I've linked these in the description. And on top of that, for like background music, I used a website called Pixabay, which sounds like a completely illegal operation, but I promise you it's totally legit. In fact, when you go to it, you can download a royalty-free license, which allows you to not be hit by Content ID claims, or if you do, at least you can dispute it under a free use license. Trust me, you do not want to be hit by a Content ID claim. So we've recorded, we've edited, and now we have to make a thumbnail. And I really enjoyed this process. In fact, sometimes a little bit more than the actual video itself. And I opted for the typical shot face, ecstatic thumbnail. Oh my God, what's that? I think the thumbnails are pretty decent. I mean, especially for someone who's just started out. Perhaps they could be a little bit more tidy. Maybe I choose certain colors over others. It's really hard to work out what's going to work and what isn't. Thumbnails with your face, or more faces in fact, tend to have a higher click-through rate. So people like people. In fact, that's when I kind of realized, even though I might have a decent thumbnail, a decent title, ultimately the content is king. People often say, how does the algorithm work? But really, you got to be thinking about who is your audience. And this is when I started to encounter the reality of the content that I was doing, I had to be honest with myself. I thought, hey, I got some cool thumbnails, decent editing, I'm playing some interesting games, I'm gonna do pretty well, right? Well, not so much. I noticed that, in fact, my VODs were not doing particularly well. In fact, I only had one video, and that was my third VOD uploaded, that it got even close to 1,000, and almost everything else afterwards really didn't do that well. The only video that got over 1,000 views was the one video that was a top 10 list explaining all the games that I've just played. So that's when I really realized content is king, value is king. What is the viewer getting out of this? Now, when you're doing gameplay videos, frankly speaking, most people would rather just play the games themselves, or they've already seen one of the big creators, and there are plenty of gaming creators who do this already. So you can see that the audience, in fact, is just getting smaller and smaller and smaller. However, my YouTube Shorts experience was a little bit different. I did indeed get some kind of traction. In fact, I'm pretty sure YouTube thinks my channel is a weird SpongeBob game, and that's because anytime I do any weird SpongeBob content, it seems to always perform really well. You see, my strategy wasn't really working. The idea was to play weird, unknown indie games, create VODs out of them, then create shorts and upload those shorts daily and upload VODs weekly. But this is where perhaps I didn't spend as much time as I needed to. After spending hours editing and filming, I actually sort of skimped out on the description part. I didn't really spend time adding tags, trying to optimize the description. I just went on Bard and said, create me a YouTube description about this game, and I just pasted it in, probably to my dismay. And so I kind of got what I deserved in that sense, but it shows that even if you do this much of the core work, ultimately, you still need to invest in the actual metadata itself. So when I originally started out, I had very trivial cuts. I was mostly removing ums and ahs and big blocks of content where to really engage the user, you need to pan, zoom, add a caption, add an effect, almost like every 3 seconds. Okay, and most of the top videos are doing this and you might not even realize. I think editing acts as kind of like a seasoning for your content, right? What's happening in your content? And I mean the what. The what is the most important thing of your content. What are you talking about? What is the subject? That is number one in terms of things you need to care about. Editing, of course, helps you retain the retention and make it more interesting. But ultimately, I realized I really need to change my strategy. Even though I got great encouragement and, to my surprise, comments were really positive. A lot of people kind of actually said, keep going. I can see you're going to be a big creator soon, or wow, you're underrated. I realized I do probably have some kind of potential, but I really do need to change my strategy. So looking to the future, what am I going to do? First off, I'm going to focus a little bit less on shorts and perhaps a little bit more on long form. My goal ultimately was to get monetized. And so even though I have the subscribers now, thanks to shorts, I really need to focus on watch time. And the best way to do that is to do it via VODs, and VODs in particular that are timely. So Call of Duty's come out. Everyone's hating on it. I'll give my honest opinion on it, right? I've actually been enjoying it. Oh no, kill me. Or the finals comes out, right? We're all waiting, anticipating for, at the time of recording this, we're all waiting for the finals to come out. And when it comes out, I'm sure it's gonna be amazing, and I can give my first impressions, my first reviews, comparing it to the beta. You see, in life, being consistent gets you quite far. Go to the gym consistently, learn how to drive consistently. You do these things and you'll get better, and eventually you'll get to a level that you're happy with. But with YouTube, consistency I don't think is enough. You have to have consistency with direction. Or what I'm gonna do is concentrate my efforts rather than just being consistent over time. Concentrate my efforts whenever I see an opportunity, a new game, a new trend, and focus on that and put all my efforts and energy into creating that video. Hopefully that works. And who knows, this time next year I'll make a video just like this and we will see how far I've gotten. And you can help me by liking, subscribing, and leaving a comment. Let's go. Hate this game. Hate this fucking game, I swear to God, bro. I hate this fucking game. Bro, anyhow it's Call of Duty, yeah, I'll just be jumping on, wrapping people up, bro. But this game, I don't know what it is.